Hi, I just want to say thank you for coming in. My name is Deshawn Colbert. I am here to do what? Educate, inform, and inspire you to do what? Own your shine. Because everybody should be able to glow and grow. I want to make sure that you are inspired, you are informed, and you are educated on your purpose. So come on, join me for the ride. I look forward to talking to you. Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to what? Today is Thursday, and you know what Thursday means? That we are doing our book review. And you know what that book review means? We are talking with who? Miss Lee. Lee's going to be joining me shortly, and we're going to be sitting and doing what? We're going to be discussing no set boundaries, find peace. Y'all got to join us. Y'all got to join in the conversation. I can't wait for you to be over here with us, for you to sit over here and talk to us. We want to hear from you. Did you read the book? Because I did. And I also had somebody try to cross my boundaries today. Okay. Okay. So we're going to get ready to discuss that. So come on, join us. We are going to be ready for the ride. We're going to be discussing the book today. It's called Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Have you ever had anybody that really crossed your boundaries? Relationship, at work, at family. Hell, family is good about crossing your boundaries. But we're going to discuss it today. I have Lee coming on with me. We're discussing the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace. We're going to sit and discuss it and figure out some of the things that we've been allowing people to do what? Cross our boundaries. So we're going to sit and discuss it. So y'all join in the conversation. We'd love to have you we'd love to have you in this conversation, because a lot of people don't understand how their boundaries are affected in these day and ages. People don't really understand how your boundaries are always being tested. I just had a family member cross my boundaries. I just had a client cross my boundaries. And so guess what? We're going to sit and discuss how your boundaries can be tested and affected in your mental space as well. So looks like my sister's getting ready to come on up and join me. She is in the place. Let's see. Here she is. She's coming. She's coming on up. Hey, Tisha. We're going to sit and discuss the book today. Today is what? Set Boundaries, Find Peace. We want y'all to come on and join the conversation with us, because guess what we're going to do? We're going to sit and discuss this. We're going to have some fun. We're going to laugh, except we're going to laugh. We're going to talk about it, and then we're going to do what? We're going to get on off of here. We're going to be respectful of our time. And we are only here for an hour, y'all. So join in the conversation. We are here for 1 hour and 1 hour only. And here she comes, my beautiful co-host. Hey, Lee.
Hey, how are
Good
you?
morning, sis. I figured out that light problem.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't look like a
Yes,
ghost today.
yes, I see all your beautiful hues today. So
How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are
I
you?
am good. I'm good. I said we gonna get it done today. I'm ready for you. I said the outline today. I said she gonna be ready for me today.
Those next chapters were amazing. So it was because I remember when you told me about the book, you were like, "It's life changing. It's life changing."
Really?
And those chapters 4 through 6, I think I'm in 7 too, but it was, yeah, on point. So yes.
So if you don't know, Lee and I are reviewing Set Boundaries, Find Peace from Nedra Glover Nairobi.
Mhm.
Tawabi. And we are reviewing the book, and it's all about boundaries, and we never realize how our boundaries are really being crossed
Yeah.
and what's being crossed.
Yeah.
So tell me, for chapter 4, the 6 type of boundaries. I sent you that, the 6 types of
Yes.
boundaries. Which
Yes.
one do you think out of the six that somebody has really crossed in your world?
I would say probably time boundaries.
And why
Um,
is that?
um, because I think people will ask me to do things and invade on my time
Mhm.
and not think about, or well, first of all, one of my pet peeves is lateness. And so there have been several times clients, friends will show up super late and I think that's disrespectful. And I feel like that's crossing a boundary, especially if you do it repeatedly or if you don't even think it's a big deal. And then also when people have just assumed I can do something
Mhm.
and take up my time. And also, like with work, I feel like this is a boundary when I have to do work over again and you've already done it or someone has already done it. Like, tell me that because you took up my time. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's a boundary. But going back to what we talked about last time, um, I I needed this book, so I realized it was up to me to set the boundary.
Okay.
So they took advantage of, people have taken advantage of it because they know I never set the boundary.
Okay.
So I'm not going to put it all on everybody else. I have to
Okay.
take some responsibility. What about
Okay.
you?
I think for me, it was more so the mental boundaries,
Hmm.
my beliefs, the way I think, and wanting to persuade me a certain way in regards to my mental boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a form of manipulation.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
don't think that people really understand that people not respecting you mentally and how you are and where you are at that place, um, they will try to persuade you their way because they don't think what you're saying, what you're doing is important to them.
Right. Right.
So
And go ahead.
So in the chat, has anybody, so out of these six things, physical boundary, emotional boundary, mental boundary, spiritual boundary, material or time, which boundary do you feel like that you need to set in your life? In the chat, y'all tell us which boundary do you feel like somebody needs to set. You need to set clear boundaries on because mine is mental boundaries and 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 Lee's is time.
Yeah. Time, and also there was another one. Emotional as well. I found this on the web for has any.
Siri is
um,
always listening.
yes. But one of the, I wanted to express another boundary that I think I set pretty well when it comes to one of these spiritual boundaries. Like I used to have people like call me on Sunday mornings. And for me, Sunday mornings is like, don't call, like that's my time, whether I'm going to church or decide to like lay in bed and read my Bible, whatever. That's a
Uh-huh.
sacred time. So don't cross, you can call me afternoon
Mm-hmm.
on Sundays. And
The
so I
John
think I've
James
made
is
that
great.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that spiritual boundary piece, yeah.
And then you were also gonna say, um, okay, so I had attacking yourself and overhearing are the Queenie friend. I need to talk about someone, everybody all the time. That's the emotional part. So do you need validation? Do you remember she was saying Queenie needed validation? She
Hmm.
came into her office and she was saying she needed reassurance and validation because she wasn't secure in
Hmm.
herself.
Right.
So I said, ooh,
Yeah.
okay. The
And
reassurance.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that's one of the biggest lessons I'm learning from this book is it's really about looking at yourself
Yes.
and being clear about who you are and what you want. I mean, I think we talked about that last week. I think that was part of the assignments that for people who were here last week is like, who are you? What are your boundaries? What is it that you want? You know?
Yeah. The book we're discussing from last week, we're on chapters 4 through 6. If you're just joining us, is Set Boundaries, Find Peace. And it's from Nedra Glover Tawwab.
Yes. I always got to say it slow too.
Yes, I got to think about it.
Yeah.
But yes, we discuss it on Thursdays, and next week we will be on chapters 7, 8, 9. Yes, we will be on 7 through 9.
Yeah.
And that'll be the end of the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
the end of the book.
Very good book.
But it's a really good book. It really puts you into this perspective of really thinking about what you have going on in your life. What have you been allowing family to do? What have you been allowing coworkers to do?
Yep.
And then it also makes you really look at yourself. Is it some things that you really need to work on? And you can't really accuse everybody of some of the things that's taking place because you're allowing some of the stuff because you haven't set clear foundational boundaries.
Right.
And
Right.
so chapter 4, she was really good about breaking down the different types of boundaries.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. For you to really look at your whole life and think about what feels uncomfortable to you or that you don't like. And I don't remember if this, because the chapters get meshed for me sometimes, but it might have been in chapter 6. But I like also when it comes to physical boundaries when she talked about children. And sometimes, growing up, how many times have we go hug your uncle, go hug your aunt, and we, or we've said it to other kids where we're embarrassed because maybe our kids didn't, warm up easily to somebody or speak or whatever. And I'm not saying that we don't still parent and teach manners, but being careful not to teach our kids to ignore their own boundaries and their own feelings of what feels comfortable to them. So that was like a big aha moment for me.
That was chapter 4, and that was chapter 4, and she was discussing how Queenie that came from her self-esteem, and the reason she overshared was because she was trying to seek validation because her dad always made her feel like she needed to overcompensate, and so she was always being forced to, interact with people that she really didn't want to interact with. And then that's when she went into the different breakdowns of boundaries and talking about the kids and the kids' physical boundaries and not allowing people to step over our kids' boundaries because
Right.
I think we forget about our kids have feelings and feelings as well.
Yes.
And they have discernment. Believe it or not, our children have discernment.
Yes.
They can, just like our pets have discernment, our children have discernment. And just like our pets can tell when we're sick, our children can tell when they don't like somebody.
Right. Or
And
they
they
just,
don't.
or even if it's just going to be their personality where they are like, I need to warm up to people. Don't force
Yep.
me to go in so fast.
Yep. They're not always somebody that just has to go out and outspoken and go talk to somebody. I need to see what you about first. Pause.
Right.
Give me 50 feet. And that's the physical. She's talked about the physical boundaries. And, when you're at a networking event, some people always want you to thank you, Crystal. Some people always want to come up and hug you. And that's what she was saying. Back then I tell people in a second, hey, give me 50 feet. Before COVID, I'd be like, give me 50 feet.
Yeah.
Don't just come in at me. Back
Right.
up. And
Right.
that's what people need to realize. Thank you, Dee. That's what some people need to realize. Not everybody wants to be touched, wants to be hugged. I don't even want to shake your hand. I just want to, hey, how you doing? How about
Mm-hmm.
that?
Mm-hmm.
I can say,
Yeah.
hey, how you doing? And you don't need to touch me.
Right. At least learning how to read the room and have enough emotional intelligence to know when people have boundaries up, you know?
I don't think people anymore have the emotional intelligence to read the room.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Audible never finished it. Thank you. You have to finish it, Crystal, because it's really good, Crystal. It
Yeah.
really puts things into perspective for you. It
Yeah.
really does. Lee, so what did you think about material boundaries? Because we hadn't touched on that. We touched on everything else. What about material boundaries? Have you ever had somebody that really crossed material boundaries?
Not really. There have been times when I've loaned people money and didn't get it back, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of adopt the mindset of not saying that I'm just going to give it to you, but I give if I'm going to give it to you, I'm going to go in with the expectation that I may not ever get it back.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have this weird feeling and I'm like if I get it back, thank you, but if I don't, lesson learned, you'll never get it again. So, yeah.
Yeah, so and that was one of them. Relate to possessions, finances. Example: set limits on lending or borrow money, defining how your belongings are treated, and being clear about shared resources. Mine is loaning out stuff. I used to be great about loaning out my things.
Mhm.
I loaned somebody a bag one time. It was brand new.
Mm.
They were going on a they were going on a trip. I was like, oh, this will be great for your trip. I'm always that person. Oh, this will be great for your outfit. This will be great for this. And it comes back and it looks like trash. Or it looks like it's been
No.
beat up, run through the ringer. And you be like, you could have just kept it.
Right.
You didn't
Right.
even need to give it back to me because it looks like trash.
Yeah.
But those are the things I think I needed to. I had to work on. Also oversharing. I didn't realize I was doing that.
I didn't either. When she talked about that, I thought about there are times when I've overshared because I'm trying to hurry up and connect with someone.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
that's a boundary that we don't realize that we're trying to compensate for something. Hey, Lola, that's something that we're trying to compensate for something. And I don't think that people really understand that. I'm just now setting boundaries. Why do you think you're just now setting boundaries? Which boundaries do you think you have the issue with, D? Is it the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the material, or the time? Which one of those do you feel like you're having more issues with? And why? Thank you, Lola. Um, because yes, I'm over. She said overshared. Okay,
Hmm.
and that seems like a lot of us, like Lee just said. You know, we want to feel like we're gonna connect. We got to figure out how to connect, and
Yeah.
so we talk ourselves into oversharing.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So, what boundary violations? So, let's move to the chapter 5. So, what boundary violations look? What do boundary violations look like? Okay, before we get there, D said I have issues with all of them. Really? What?
Wow.
Okay, so you need to read this book. You need to
Definitely
pull
read
it
the
up on
book.
Audible, or you need to go to book. I think it's Bookshop. That's the black
Oh, okay. Hmm.
bookshop bookshop.org
Hmm.
bookshop.com. That's the black bookstore, and you can get the
Hmm.
book there. So
Hmm.
yeah, you need to get the book. It's really good though. The book is really good because it puts it into perspective of, yes, definitely going to read it. Yes, you have to, because the book really puts things into perspective of, you're looking at you yourself, on what I need to work on to have a clear relationship with other people.
Yeah.
And it also makes you look at your past things and why you did them.
Right.
Right?
And to have better relationships with people. Like,
Yes.
there's so many times, again, I don't remember what chapter they talked about, and we can get to it in a few minutes, but
Okay.
the passive aggressiveness. And there's so many times I've been passive aggressive because I didn't set a boundary and express the boundary. And then I'm passive aggressive and the relationship suffers. Instead of setting the boundary, being direct and consistent. And even as she explained, sometimes we don't set boundaries because we want to be nice and we're afraid the relationship is going to change. And she said, immediately go back to being normal. Like call them the next day and ask about, hey, how was your day? What did you do today? So you can go back if that's a concern of yours. But
Me.
yeah, setting boundaries helps save a relationship.
That's me.
Which part? The
That's
passive aggressive or?
yeah, because instead of me being very clear about this is not a boundary that will be crossed, I'll do some passive aggressive stuff and then come back and be like, okay, now you know what it is, and then move on. Whereas I need to sit in it, let it be known what my boundary is, and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So
And what does
I
that stem from? That's the other thing. That stems from something.
yeah, I mean, I think we talked a little bit about it, and I just mentioned that, like that nice factor for some of us, not maybe not everyone, but I know mine is from not wanting to appear difficult, wanting to be nice, not rock the boat, those kind of things. Yeah.
Ooh, she said she loaned someone 5K and had to take them to court. Wow. And was it because you didn't set a clear boundary on when you wanted your money back? Was that it? You didn't set a clear boundary on when you wanted your money back. So that falls under monetarily, um a
Yeah.
material boundary. That falls under a material boundary. And those are very hard because that material boundary, you end up it costs you relationships, it costs you friendships,
Yeah.
because you want to seem like you're helping, but sometimes you end up hurting yourself trying to be nice.
Yeah. I'm in that situation now, and I didn't set clear expectations on how to pay me back or what my expectations were. So, yeah,
Look,
sucks.
yeah, see, look, D says I was never supposed to have loaned the money in the first place. And that's the thing. Because they make, because we don't have very clear boundaries on um not putting ourselves in a position to get hurt. And
Yeah.
so you want to feel loved or accepted, and then you end up putting yourself in a compromising situation to where you can't get your money back and you got to go sue
Yeah. 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 Yep.
So okay, so you chapter 5. What about chapter 5? What notes do you have from chapter 5?
Um,
Because
okay, hold
they
on.
were
Let
one, two, three.
me
There were 5 things from chapter 5.
yeah. The different type of kind of violations, and like the overt violations where it's very clear on what's happening.
Mhm.
And those are pretty easy to identify and to sometimes even to deal with. But I think it's the covert violations that are more subtle. It's manipulative. Sometimes I think when that's happened to me, I second guess it because I'm like, did they really mean that? Or did they do that on purpose? Or, and, you know, people guilt tripping, manipulating your feelings, being shady, and you're and you second guess it, and you're like not sometimes not even sure did a boundary get crossed. But I think that's when we have to trust our gut, trust how we feel, And it really doesn't matter if they think the boundary was crossed or not. How do you feel? You
Okay,
know?
so let's explain what overt violations are.
Okay.
Let's explain.
You're so funny.
Because some people may not understand what overt violations are.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we want to make sure we're very clear on what we're talking about. So an overt violations are clear and direct disregard for your boundaries. Example, someone physically touching you without permission, someone yelling at you, or someone stealing from you. Those are overt violations. A
Mm-hmm.
covert violation is more subtle and manipulative ways of crossing your boundaries. Example, guilt tripping, passive aggression, minimizing your feelings, or manipulation.
Yep. Yep.
Look, boundaries are for Carrie. I just tell people what I will not accept. That part right there.
Mm-hmm.
And see, covert violation is what I dealt with in my last relationship. And because it was always either minimizing feelings or the manipulation.
Yeah. Like
Cap
gaslighting. Gaslighting is covert.
gaslighting portion of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't use the gaslighting word anymore because everybody kind of overuses that.
Yeah.
So I want to call it what it is: covert manipulation. Covert manipulation.
Manipulation. Yeah.
The
Or like you said, minimizing your feelings, acting like
yes,
something didn't happen when it did.
yes.
Yep.
D said I told him he didn't value our friendship, and I was putting him out and on time out. Oh, see, there we go. You laid the foundation and said I'm not putting up with this, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't know how to do that. Hey, Coco. A lot of people don't know how to do that. Hey, Coco, if y'all are just coming in, Lee and myself are discussing the book. You gonna tell them the book, Lee?
No, you sue it. You have the author's name better down than I do.
Set boundaries, find peace. It's Nedra Glover Tawwab, and that's the
Okay.
book. Now let's talk about enmeshment, a lack of clear boundaries between people, often leading to over involvement and a toss of individuality. A parent living vicariously through their child or a partner controlling all aspects of the other partner's life. That one.
That was deep. I hadn't heard I think I heard that word before, but I really wasn't clear on what that was. And so I'm like, wow, I see a lot of that. Not with me personally, but I have seen that. Yeah.
So with me being a sports mom, I saw that all the time.
Mm.
I think we're
Mm.
seeing that now. If we look at the Sanders boys, now that they're getting ready to go to the NFL, it was great during college. It was great during their younger years, but I think we're kind of seeing that a smidge right now.
Yeah.
Because I think Shiloh put on his message on his he put it on a caption. It's time for us to go to the next level. Thanks, Dad. And I think that's his
Oh.
passive aggressive way trying to say, okay, it's time for us to transition to,
Yeah.
move on. So I think he's kind of feeling that there's no clear boundary set with them.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think we're
Yeah.
kind of seeing that. We love the involvement. They should be involved. We love our fathers being involved, but I think that's right there where we're seeing it slightly.
Yep. I could see that. Yeah. But I could definitely see being a sports parent, because you always want the best for your kids, but if you over involved, you're living through them, maybe you didn't make it as far as they made it and now this is your chance. um I mean, I see a lot of that. I see it in a friend of mine who wasn't that popular, I don't think, in high school, and now I think she's putting that pressure on her daughter to be like the super popular, cool, pretty girl and living vicariously through her to the point where I think some boundaries have been crossed. And so, yeah, you got to be careful of that.
And do you think that, so that's more of a self-esteem thing?
Mhm.
That's more of a
Yeah.
self-esteem issue.
Yeah.
Um, I think I see it slightly in, I used to see it slightly in some friends, but
Hmm.
with their children, but I think they kind of looked in the mirror and it kind of passed through, but I could believe that. I could
Yeah.
see that. Now, anybody in the chat, hey, Leonard. Anybody in the chat? Do y'all agree with that? Have y'all heard or seen anybody doing that, crossing any type of boundary that you felt like they were? It was daddy ball or mommy was too much there. I mean, look how much Kris Jenner is always around on her kids. That's
Yeah.
clear boundary she's crossed. We can
Yeah.
think of plenty of entertainers that their parents were always in their stuff and in their business.
Yes.
Um, so we could look at something like that we could tell was clearly crossed. Um, dump dump. We know he crossed all kind of boundaries with his kids.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um, Joe John. Let me see. Uninvited crossing of boundaries, unsolicited advice. Ooh.
Yeah, that's
Un-
what, like, the intrusions piece was one that really stood out for me because I have a I notice I have several friends that do this. So I'm like, what kind of energy am I giving off because it's more than one friend? But I may be venting or just talking about something that's happened and they immediately go into advice mode for me. And I'm like, I really wasn't looking for advice because I know what I'm going to do. I'm just venting. But what I'm learning from this book is to say it in the very beginning like, hey, I'm not looking for empathy or advice. I'm just talking right now, and then go into my story.
so I have to learn that.
Mm, yeah.
And I'm starting to do that now. Yes, tell them I need to vent. I stopped giving unsolicited advice. Yeah. Leonard, I have to do that. And I
Yeah.
just started doing that. Like, oh, okay. And I just sit there and I listen.
Right.
Don't give
Right.
any advice. I just sit there and listen. I have a family member that she does that all the time. It's like, can you just listen? I don't need you to talk. I don't need you to give me therapy. I'm just venting. Just like
Yeah.
relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a clear boundary. I don't think we realize that that's a boundary.
I didn't think it was until I heard them talking or heard her because I was listening to the Audible.
Mhm.
I didn't realize it was until I heard her talking about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder I feel kind of crappy afterwards because it's a boundary they cross. And it's almost like they're making me feel incapable of handling, or I don't know. It's not a good feeling when someone gives you unsolicited advice when you were just really looking to express yourself.
And look, Dee said recently a friend asked me what I thought about a situation, and I put the ball back in her court. That's what I just learned how to start doing, Dee. I have gotten really good with that.
Yeah.
Leonard said he's working on it though. I've gotten great at that now. Oh, really? I just sit there and I'll say, oh, really? Oh, okay. And that's it. Nothing else. Because I found myself, I was doing that a lot and didn't realize that I was doing that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's crazy work. I didn't realize I was doing that. And then I sat back and I looked and I thought about it and I was like, I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of giving her advice, I asked her questions for her to figure it out. That's a good one too. That's a really good one. Just ask them a question about what's going on and make them think. Yeah, because the simple fact is, I'll give you advice and then you get mad and you're really just calling the vent. So
Right. Right.
I just sit there and listen now.
Yeah.
To some, it comes natural if you're the problem solver. Yes, and I'm always the problem solver. That's it right there. She always comes to me if she wants to vent and figure out the problem, and I'm just like, I am tired of you always coming to me to vent. Like always. It's like relax.
Yeah. I wonder, is that what people are thinking about me when I vent? Because there are things I have really strong opinions about, and sometimes I want to just get it out, but maybe I need to be quiet.
All
So,
right. Disrespect, treating you or your boundaries with a lack of regard, ignoring your requests, interrupting you, or talking down to you.
hmm. Yeah, I don't have that much of that. Anyone else in the chat?
Yeah, no one knows what someone is thinking to comply with this magical term boundary. No, well, we've gone through the different breakdowns of them. If you're just coming in, middle age mama, we've been going through them, and we're noticing that we're not mind readers, no, but we've been crossing people's boundaries and not realizing that we have to take onus of not setting clear boundaries.
Yeah.
And so,
So
and
part of it is on us for
yeah,
sure,
we have
but
to take
but
ownership.
I but the author makes it clear too that you can ask people their boundaries. Is it okay if I come over to your house at 6 or whenever I get off? I think we need to be more aware of when we can give people choices when dealing with them. So, you know, so if nothing else, no, we can't read minds, but we can ask people more directly what they want and what they don't want.
Yes. And I think that will set a clear boundary on what people like. Because I think that we get so caught up in what we want and what we like, we forget to ask them what they want and
Yes.
what they like.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the key things. Like, I have some friends that are very unself-aware, and those are the people that cross the boundaries the most because they're only thinking about what they like and what they want and haven't stopped to take a breath and say, is that okay with you? Are you okay with that?
Hmm.
So, but again, part of it is on me as well because I need to set the boundary as well. So both people being considerate of the other person, and then you being direct with people around you.
Because we have to always remember when we're pointing a finger, you have four more pointing back
Yes.
at you.
Yeah.
So we have to always take ownership first before we start pointing a finger. That's the way I look at it. Middle-aged mom said people don't care, you just need to have a concise consequence if someone crosses your boundary. Oh yeah. And that's what we talked. That was in chapter middle aged mom. That was in chapter 1 through 3 that we discussed last week about
Mm-hmm.
setting those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
This time we're talking about the emotional part side of the boundaries. That's the
Yeah.
section of the book we're in right now, 4 through 6. We're discussing 4 through 6. Chapters 1 through 3, those were in there last week. I'm a better friend for being concise about boundaries.
Yep.
Even with adult son, I have boundaries. And see, that's my problem with my son. Gotcha. Great combo. Thank you, middle aged mom. I got 10 fingers pointed at me, especially dealing with the public at times with some. Exactly. We have to, and the thing is, we don't want to take accountability sometimes because we don't want it to think it's us. We don't want to think it's us. And sometimes it's just us.
Yeah.
Us that's the problem.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Sometimes it's us that's the problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not them all the time. Sometimes you gotta look in the mirror. Sometimes you gotta look at this.
Yeah. Yes, I'm learning that. It's and that's the part about the passive aggressiveness that really stood out for me is I would just assume, like, don't they know what they're doing? Don't they know that that's rude? Don't they know that, or can't they tell that I was quiet the whole night and they should have known I was mad, instead of saying directly, I don't like that you did that. That hurt my feelings, and I don't appreciate that. Can you please be on time, or whatever the situation is?
Hmm. And some people don't realize that some people are very disrespectful about people's times, and some people are just blatantly oblivious.
Yeah. So a lot of times there's no ill intent, and we're sitting around being passive aggressive and mad, and really hurting ourselves. And the other person is, like you said, oblivious. They don't know,
Mhm.
and we haven't communicated. So I'm going to work on not being passive aggressive, and just if I have an issue, just say it, and not assume that they're going to take it the wrong way.
And that's the other thing, assuming. She talked about that,
Yeah.
assuming. She talked
Yeah.
about you assuming. It's all in your head. You've created this whole scenario in your head about something that's not even factual.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
she talked about that a lot. My compassion radar needs an upgrade. I'm no longer assume people will know. And I said, yes, I no longer assume anymore either. I just say it. If I have something to say, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it and move on.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I need
I'm
to get there.
Yep. I'm the exact same way because I don't want to be all in my head when I don't need to be.
Right. Right.
It serves no purpose and it's a waste of energy.
Yeah.
It's a waste of energy. Okay, so last one. Treating you and your boundaries with lack of regard, ignoring requests, interrupting or talking down. So you had never had a boss that down. Okay, so what about y'all? Have y'all ever had a boss that was talking down to you or always interrupting you or ignoring your feelings? Have y'all ever had that? That's a good question because recently my friend was eating in my car and I called her out something I wouldn't have done. Yes. And that's a clear boundary. That's a clear boundary. And if that's something you don't like, that's your possession. If you don't like it, that's a clear boundary that was being crossed. That's a great scenario right there. That designed by Stasia said, yes, she's had these boundaries crossed several times. D said, D, that was a great example. That was a really good example because you're getting better with, I'm noticing from your comments, she's gotten better with very clear and concise on her boundaries. And I put her respectfully in her place privately. Okay, so see, you've matured. You didn't do it out in public. You do it in private. So that's the other thing. We forgot to hit on physical boundaries. Have you ever been in a relationship where somebody said they don't like PDA out in public? They don't like what was the other one? Their personal space being invaded. I had somebody that hated holding hands out in public. Hated holding hands out in public.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that you being self-conscious? Yes, criticizing in public. Oh no. But criticizing in public is a no-no.
No.
That's a
Yeah.
no-no.
Yeah.
What are some of your clear-cut boundaries in a relationship that you had to learn that you didn't have? Lee.
Um, Mine were probably around, not around physical stuff, but probably around financial things.
Okay.
Um, I'm really generous with whoever I'm with,
Mhm.
and I think that gets taken advantage of.
Okay.
So I think those were some, and so then as you know, as I moved on to other relationships, then she talks a little about this. Instead of boundaries, which are healthy, I ended up creating walls, which are unhealthy, and that
Mhm.
lets nobody in. Um, and so I had to find the happy medium. So, yeah.
Okay. So, do you feel like you were trying to compensate for something?
Um, I don't know if it was compensate or if it was just, um, I don't know. I don't know what, but I mean, or if it was just sometimes you have what is that guilt that they call when I've always fortunately unfortunately I've always made a pretty good living, and so
Mhm.
sometimes I feel like maybe guilty because I made a lot more than most people I've been with, and
Okay.
so I just would be
Overcome.
generous, and then I think they took advantage of it.
Okay. Okay. So Linda said my tone of voice had to check that and place in delete basket. And that's a clear, concise boundary. Hi, if y'all are just joining us, Lee and I are discussing chapters 4 through 6. Set boundaries, find peace from Nurabi Glover. No, Nedra.
Nedra. Mm-hmm.
Nedra. It's Nedra Glover
Mm-hmm.
Tawwab-breaking.
Yes.
Messed that up.
You've been doing good all night. You've been doing good all
Blooper.
night.
I said Hub's boundary. Look, D said I set Hub's boundaries, and at first we were surprised and wanted to know why. I said Hub's boundaries, and at first he was surprised and wanted to know why. Oh, you have to elaborate. I'm confused now. You said boundaries for Hubs, and he
Oh,
was
you she's
surprised.
yeah. So he probably was thinking, "We're married. Why do you have boundaries?" He might be thinking that.
Oh, okay. You got it. See, that's that married woman talk right there. I ain't been there.
I think that might be it,
Look,
but
I ain't been
yeah.
there and done that in a long time. I don't remember that. I didn't realize my man voice carries was loud. Oh, okay. So you had to breathe and pause. Yes. Y'all's man voice, yes. Y'all's man voice carries, and y'all have to take a step back. So yes, that's a good one. That was a good one. So that was more of an emotional boundary. That
Hmm.
was more of an emotional boundary, Leonard. So that one was a good one, Leonard. What who we were missing somebody else. What we were just he was used to me always being accessible.
Mm,
Oh, oh, that's a
yeah,
good one. Okay.
that's a good one.
But wait, for your husband or your boyfriend?
I think both. I can
For
see
both?
that.
For
Hmm.
both. Okay. So
Yeah.
do you think that he thinking that you weren't working, so you just need to always be accessible for your husband? So he thought you weren't working, so you just needed to always be accessible to him when he called. Yeah,
Or
no.
or I think even like on Saturdays we're both not working, so the assumption is that I'm going to be there or with you, and I'm like, I have other stuff to do too. I mean, I have a life, like I have, you know,
Well, I mean, that's a good
and
one. That's a good one. I
mhm,
I guess for me, I automatically assume, hey, we married. You ain't tell me you was doing nothing, so I just automatically assume we doing it together.
that part. But speaking of which, and I think we're going to be talking about this in a few minutes on our podcast, is one of the first boundaries my husband had set with me was, so he has to be at work super early in the morning, so he goes to bed early, gets up very early.
Mhm.
And when we first started talking on the phone, I was thinking like, oh, we're going to talk all night, because I'm a night person. I worked all day. I was ready to just talk all night. And he was like, no, ma'am. These are the hours I talk because I have to be in bed by a certain time because I like to be fully up and ready when I go to work and attentive. And I was like, huh? What? You don't want to talk to me? But he didn't budge. And until this day, he's very clear on this is my bedtime. This is what time I get up. This is how I like to feel when I go to work. And I'm not staying up all night with you and your shenanigans. So,
but that's a clear boundary. He was
clear boundary. And I respected it.
And you had to respect. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
I like that. I enjoy that because you know where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no malice or ill intent. This is what it is, and here we go. Either you can deal with it or you can't. And that was a way. And that's what people need to do with relationships. If they're able to set those clear boundaries up front, then we know if we want to deal with them or not. So I love it. I love that he did.
Or even one that you'll appreciate, he's very good with his boundaries. Very good. Even another clear boundary that you'll appreciate is he's like, so Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays are football. So I knew.
My boy.
I knew. And so, and especially if Chicago Bears was playing, I know I'm not trying to get you to come to some gala with me or some couples night out. Like, he was very clear. These are my boundaries. This is what it is. And we had clarity.
That's me. That's me right there. That's me. And some people get upset about it. Like, okay, let me tell you something. I'm very clear about work. On a Saturday, if I wasn't doing a corporate event or anything like that, if it's not something that we have an event for that weekend, I don't talk after 3 o'clock on Saturdays. Work shuts off.
That's okay.
I'm done. I do no more work on Saturdays. After that, I am not talking to you until Monday. Mm-hmm. And some clients could not respect that. I'm like, if you talk to them other people, look, Lee, you talk to them other people, they don't even talk to you on Saturdays. They don't even talk to you on Sundays. And then you get an attitude because your non-organization
is causing me to rush and be.
Yeah, causing me to rush, causing me to do things. Your poor planning. That's what I was looking for. Your poor planning skills, or you're mad at me because you couldn't get yourself together. No, that's a clear boundary. I don't talk. I'm watching football. I probably got college football on Saturdays when I'm working. I am watching football all day on Sunday. All day. Yeah. Okay? All day. Yeah. I'm watching Monday Night Football and I'm watching Thursday Night Football. Don't call me. Don't pretend, right. And don't pretend like it's an emergency. Nothing's that serious. Leave me alone. Right. And so I'm very clear about that as well. And I had to train everybody to do that.
Yeah.
Look, right, that's the perfect example. So then no one can say you crossed the line. There you go, middle-aged mama. Leonard said, that's me. I'm off the clock. Yeah, I'm off the clock. Business hours are from this time to this time. But I was very clear about it. And it was always, that boundary right there was always being crossed. I have some girlfriends that really get upset because they can't talk to me on, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you don't work on Sundays, you don't talk on Sundays. And I'm like, don't act like that with me. Right. I have clear boundaries and these are my boundaries. Yeah. And don't try to make me feel bad because you don't have it.
Yeah, because that's kind of disrespectful to even kind of be
passive
like,
aggressive.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It's the passive aggressive for me and trying to make me feel bad. And that used to really irritate me, like big time, because that's my boundary that I've set. If you have boundaries that you set, you want me to respect them, why can't I have the same? That's all I'm saying. And so that's what people need to understand. All right. So we didn't get to chapter 6, self-assessment, clarity, direct communication, concise, and consistency, consequences and consistency. And actually, we did hit some of them. So, see, we kind of merged
Yep.
chapter 5 and chapter 6 together, and y'all didn't even realize it. We will be back next week for chapters 7 through 9. 7 through 9, right, Lee?
Yep. Yep.
7 through 9. So we will be back to talk more next week about chapters 7 through 9. 7 through 9. 1, 2, 3. 7 through 9, yes. And then after that we have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll have 2 more after that. So yes, so we're very, I think we've kind of merged them too, but self-assessment, identifying and communicating your boundaries. We kind of hit both of them. Yes, inconsistently, that's me. I used to have my quiet time in the morning and meditate and project my day. Then I lost that. And exactly, D. And that's the thing. People don't respect you if you don't have clear, concise, set boundaries.
Yeah. And they'll try to push it and they
Yeah.
don't know. So you have to really set the tone for what you
And
like.
rein
What
it
you don't
in.
like.
Exactly. Look, and Leonard said I had to incorporate meditation. It definitely helps. Yes, you have to. Y'all have to remember, the older we get, the more empaths that we become. Do you realize that, Lee? The older that we're getting, the more empathetic we get, to where we're internalizing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I do. Well, I don't know, because I do feel like the older I get, I feel like I'm moving more toward not caring as much, because I have to, like, I can't carry you and me. Like, I've got to let some stuff go. Um Whereas before, I think I took on too much, and I think I'm becoming more, in a good way, more selfish as I get older.
Okay. Okay, then that's a good thing. Look, Leonard said, "Oh yeah, no patience." Yeah, well, as we get older, we have zero patience. Our patience is null and void.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be respectful of Lee's time. Lee has to get on a podcast. She probably needs to do her final things. We're gonna say goodnight. Well, she's gonna say goodnight. I'm gonna stay on here and talk a little bit more for a few more minutes.
Okay.
To wrap it up, we want everybody, hey, make sure y'all do what with Lee? Y'all make sure with Lee, y'all go check out, tell them the podcast again.
Love Lately podcast. My husband and I do it together, and we are on all social media platforms and under Lee and Ron Rogers on YouTube. You can watch some of our episodes.
So make sure y'all go check them out. You join us next week. Next week we are covering chapters 7 through 9, blurred lines. Make it plain. That's what chapter 7 is. Trauma and boundaries. And what are you doing to honor your boundaries? So y'all be ready for the conversation. Yeah. We want to hear back from you. Everybody in the chat was amazing tonight. We love the interaction. We love y'all talking back to us, because what that does is it makes it fun for us, and we're learning different things from one another. It's a conversational book review. We do this every Thursday evening from 7:30 to 8:30, only for 1 hour. You get us for 1 hour. That's it. We want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'll let you guys, I know you probably could keep talking, so I'm going to let you go ahead and go.
Thank you.
I will
appreciate you.
Talk to y'all later. Thank you.
See you
Okay.
next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So we had a great conversation, y'all. This was fun. I'm gonna use that for my thumbnail for YT, because I'm gonna need to drop that over there. But just remember, y'all, set clear boundaries. If you want to join in the conversation, y'all get the book. Make sure you get the book. It's Set Boundaries, Find Peace. Lee and myself cover the book on Thursday nights. So next Thursday we'll be covering chapters 7 through 9. We want y'all to join into the conversation. It's really great. It's really fun. Clarity, yes, clarity is a must. And if you have clarity, you will have some peace. Okay, all right. We want to make sure that everybody is involved in the conversation. We had a great conversation tonight on our last these three chapters, chapter 4 through 6. Chapter 4 was the 6 types of boundaries. Chapter 5 was what boundary violations look like. And then chapter 6 was identify and communicate your boundaries. You look so cute today. Thank you so much. So those were the topics for today. So next week, I can't wait for us to get into the topics next week. We're going to have some great conversations, some great fun, and I look forward to seeing you there. Amazing book, y'all. It really helps you not just set your boundaries, but it helps you internally look at the things that you've been doing, and maybe you can some minor tweaks and adjustments that will help you find your peace. So enjoy the book. Thank y'all for coming on, and I can't wait to see y'all next week. Bye. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this part of my TikTok live. Guess what? Like, comment, subscribe. Don't be selfish.